And welcome back to Mona's Take. I am your host, Monadrose, and we are here to talk about everything reality TV. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss anything I have coming up. Today's episode is going to be the last 24 hours of the live feeds, Big Brother. Not a whole lot has changed. I'm going to go over the remainder of the conversation between Monty and Taylor and get your thoughts on the situation. So stay tuned. People are acting on a whole nother level on that. So can't wait to see that karma train coming through. Choo-choo. Mood of the day. Really? You gotta give us more credit than that. Some people, buckle up, buttercup. When someone shows you who they are, believe them. Alright. I am going to start off. I have gotten more responses and comments from my video last night than I have the entire time I've been going. A lot of people didn't like the fact that I called Monty a dog, and that they didn't think that he was doing anything wrong. I got a lot of comments in support of my opinions, and I will say that I appreciate them all just the same. My opinion is my opinion, and it is based on what I see from watching the live feeds. So you can take it for what it's worth. I will always agree to disagree if we were at an impasse. I'm always willing to learn, but I'm also going to steadfast in my take of the situation. So you can take it for what that's worth. The one thing that I will say is that I do give you the whole conversation, so you can make up your own mind. So, the conversation between Monty and Taylor last night, I should say this morning, she was in the bathtub. He was sitting on the couch talking to her. And I will say that the more I heard of this conversation, the more pissed off I got. The more I dislike him. And the more I felt sorry for Taylor. I'll let you guys make up your own mind. So, evidently, something was said by Taylor. Monty was talking about his goddaughter, I guess how he had been in her life, her whole life. And Taylor said something jokingly about, except for the last 3 months, because of course they've been in the Big Brother house. That, on top of the earlier situation to where she pulled the headphones off of his head, and he is feeling very disrespected and decides to go have a conversation with Taylor after he's already talked to Turner earlier in the morning. So he's upset with Taylor, saying something about him not being in his goddaughter's life for the last 3 months, saying that she was very condescending and he didn't appreciate it. So now he's going to push this new narrative, in my opinion, of her being insensitive, spoiled, and unaware of how spoiled she comes across. He says, it's about your tone, and I don't appreciate being spoken to like that, in that manner. Taylor starts apologizing profusely, and she said, I apologize to you profusely about turning you off as a person, and she didn't do it intentionally, but she did disrespect him, and she realizes that, and she's apologizing for that. I didn't see it as disrespect, but whatever. And every time he speaks to her in that condescending tone, I dislike him more and more as a person, as a human being. She's already down. You don't have to kick her when she's down. And you don't have to respin that narrative of week 1. Taylor says, thank you for having this conversation with me. Thank you for talking to me directly about it. Because separately, I have been thinking about time, distance. That's why I've been in such a funk today. And for that to indirectly or directly come out against you in a way it did earlier today, I'm sorry for that, truly. And to pile on top of that list, the snatching and all of that, you are not someone that I want to deeply disrespect. Like the banter we do back and forth in the kitchen, the surface level funny stuff, that's fine. But to have done something that very deeply turned you off, and not in a romantic way, but turned you off to me as a person or as a human being, or the way I communicate, I am deeply sorry for that. Because I'm not a person that will intentionally try to throw personal things in people's face with the intention of hurting them ever. And I did that unintentionally, but still did it. Monty said, well, I'm not going to sit here and say I don't forgive you. Like, I'm not that kind of person. And I say this first of all because I care about you as a person, outside of how intimate we have become. But especially now that we have become intimate. He says, I see a side of you that's not that. So to see the side of you, it makes me know that you are capable of being more warm, and not so cold and not so tone deaf to sensitive things or rude. I know that's just not you all the time. So to see that come out in you today, and I've seen it come out before, but honestly, I didn't care all that much about it because I'm like, that's just Taylor, you know what I mean? That's just who she is. This is the persona or the person she's representing right now, and I accept that. But then to see the side of you that's not that, and see you revert back to that, it's just confusing, or maybe a bit frustrating. And Taylor said, maybe it is, and I can tell it's frustrating, but maybe it is a subconscious reaction to not wanting to. For God's sakes, we're laying in the HOH bed together like king and queen in the house in front of the rest of the house. Maybe it is a subconscious wish to make it not seem that I'm the lovey-dovey girl that doesn't think about the game and is throwing everything away and has nothing but marshmallow for you all the time. Is nothing but a marshmallow to you all the time. That has nothing to do with how I talk to you about very personal things, like what we chat about your life. That's wildly inappropriate. But I would hope that that's the only case that you feel, oh, this is a cold bitch, because I know the softer side of her. But I do have a fear of mixing emotions with the game and showing other people in the house or letting other people in the house know how I'm starting to feel about you, or how that will impact how others see me in the house. I don't want to be defined by my relationship to a guy. And yes, it's highly plausible, highly likely that I will amp up the colder aspect for the sake of not being tied together. She said, that's a big fear of mine. God, look at how we talk about Kyle and Alyssa. I think about how not often but enough, I think about how fans of this show talk about women. And I think about my experience in this game so far. She's crying, and she's not stopped crying for the entire length of this conversation. She's wiping her tears away, and she's saying, "Stop. Ooh, gross. I hate crying." She said, "My face gets hot, and I get choked up, and it's uncomfortable." And the whole time, he's sitting there going, uh-huh, 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 uh-huh. She said, "I'm targeted from the jump. I'm berated publicly by a man. My existence in this game is saved by a guy, Turner. I can only form," and she said, "Oh my God, this is so embarrassing. But until I started a romance with Joseph, I wasn't able to really be allowed to create friendships or given the benefit of a conversation by people who didn't want to talk to me. And then I developed a very deep trust with Joseph, and all that was thrown under the bus at Direfest. So I came here to be an awesome competitive person and like a really strong woman who's got space for everybody and can communicate really easily to everybody and gets along with people. But so much of my game has been defined by relationships, positive or negative." She said, "Relationships with men and the way I've alienated intentionally or unintentionally, for whatever reason, the women in this house. So now that you and I have gotten closer in an intimate way, I'm sure there's a fear about how that's perceived outside given my entire experience overall. And I think subconsciously that's what played into me taking the headphones off of you and laughing with Brittany today. I wasn't trying to humiliate you, but trying to communicate to Brittany that this space is yours in the same way that it's Turner's and Monty's." And Monty said, "No, you didn't even give her the headphones, Taylor. It wasn't like you were trying to tell her these headphones are yours in the same way. I think what I'm also trying to communicate to you is that it's not like, I think the headphones was a very direct and extreme example to me, perhaps, but I think there's times where I don't know if it's like, and what I've noticed, and this is just me observing you, because I've seen plenty of you throughout this game. Like, I think I know who you are a little bit. Like, not to the extent that I could, but to be living with each other in the house 24/7 for the past 75 days. I think I started to pick up on trends. And in like an effort to like, help you realize things that maybe nobody else in the house is willing to tell you, because I care. I want to tell you what I've seen. And what I've seen is like, it seems as though when, especially with the game stuff, is like when you're safe, it seems as if the level of like coldness starts to increase and you become just a little bit more of that persona and less sensitive towards certain things, less loving in communication, or cold in jokes, more condescending in communication. I've seen it from my viewpoint personally, but again, I didn't feel like, I thought it was just you. Now that we've become more intimate and I've seen a different version of you, I'm like, okay, that wasn't Taylor the entire time. Like, that was, I don't know what it was. I don't know if that came out of you wanting to be this independent woman who doesn't have to have like this soft and warm, stereotypical character that maybe most women would have playing in this house. Maybe that's what came out. but that's what I've noticed. A lot of times it will be like phases where I see, like, when you're on the block, you're very mindful, like much softer in communication, less condescending, less of those types of jokes that maybe rub people the wrong way. And nothing to that extent, I'm telling you right now, I don't think I've ever heard you say anything to that extent to me personally. I don't know about other people though. But for me personally, I've never felt that way. But I don't know what types of conversations you've had with other people beforehand and how jokes could have. And it just makes me think this isn't the first time that that sort of thing has happened. If this happened with me, of all people, someone who you somewhat care about at this moment, like, this is something I'm observing. And I want to share with you. Like, I think this happened. He is so hard to follow. I'm sorry. Like, I think this happened, like, subconsciously. Like, times in the game when you're feeling more comfortable. You're feeling less worried about your safety in the game and all. And you become that more sarcastic, condescending type person that communicates in that way. Y'all mad yet? Because this ain't half of it. He says, whereas when there is less certainty about, like, where you're standing in the game, it's a whole different version. More the Taylor that I see and hear in the HOH room when we're together. And I don't think anyone has told you this stuff. But I have watched you closely through this summer to see and observe that. And I can't sit here and list examples, of course, because I can't remember any examples. But that's just what I've observed. And you can take this and be like, this is a bunch of horse shit. You know, like, whatever. He's just trying to make me feel bad. Or for what it is. It's me saying, I care about you. This is what I've noticed. And I don't know what you do in the outside world. But here, this is what I've seen. And I don't want you to keep thinking, like, and thinking, oh, I've made people feel a certain way this entire game by the way I've communicated. When it may not have been that way based off of what I observed. That's how I evaluated things. And if that's not something you've noticed and it's not something you've been conscious of, like, I can get that. But I'm telling you, this is what I've noticed. Taylor, still crying, says, give me a second. And she's wiping tears away from her face. And she said, I've tried really hard not to be a person who hurts people. But because at my core, I am so sensitive, because that's who I am at my core. I know how easy it is to get hurt. And I try not to do that to other people. Because I know how deeply that hurt is. Especially when it happens to yourself. And obviously, I'm afraid of that happening to me too. I had to stop here for a minute because I was fuming. I hear so much in this conversation. My take so far is it is very easy to get beat down verbally. That when this happens over and over, you start believing what is being said about you. In this conversation, I hear Monty, but I also hear Amira, Nicole, Daniel, Terrence, Jasmine, Indy, everybody that has put this negative persona on her since the moment that she walked through those doors. She had that target on her back. And I can hear that condescending, I'm better than you attitude that came from every single one of those people in that house. And he's bringing this all full circle back to week 1. This same shit about how you rub people the wrong way, but I can't give you any examples. But maybe you can figure it out and stop hurting people. The same shit Daniel said to her. The same shit Nicole said to her. Monty's bringing it around full circle again. And if you can't have any examples of any of the stuff that you're saying, it's just gaslighting. You are gaslighting her until she crumbles into a ball and becomes submissive. That's what I'm seeing. It's also a way for him to take Turner to the final 2 and not feel guilty. Because if he breaks it off with Taylor and makes her think it's her fault, then he's not going to feel guilty when he takes Turner over her. And I fully believe that that's what all of this is about. Another thought. What is wrong with a woman not being soft? Women don't have to be soft. He keeps saying that, and I don't even know what that means. This isn't like the 40s, where the women are in the kitchen barefoot and pregnant, and you don't speak to unless spoken to. That's the kind of mentality that I'm hearing with his words. And quite frankly, it pisses me off. He says things like, I'm telling you what other people aren't willing to tell you. So you're letting her believe that everybody is still talking about her that's left in the house. And you're making her think that everyone sees her in the same light as what you're trying to portray right now. Everybody in the game sees her that way. He is trying to break her down so that, and to me it makes no sense, because if Taylor pulls out that next HOH, which she is very capable of doing, if she pulls that out and has to decide who sits next to her in the final 2, you're burning another bridge. You're so damn cocky that you and Turner have this in the bud, and that either you or Turner are going to win it. So you can treat her any kind of way you want to treat her. You can also make her doubt herself before all these comps start taking place. That's my 5 cents. I don't give 2 cents anymore because this shit just pisses me off too bad. Alright, back to Taylor. She said, I know how gentle I truly am. So of course, I don't want to be that person to anyone else. But I also do what I can to protect myself, that aspect of me. Because if that aspect of me were the outermost version of me, I would be like this every single day. And she's talking about sitting in the tub, bawling her eyes out. And he says, Monty says, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with that, Taylor? And Taylor said, who wants to cry every day? And Monty said, you don't have to cry every day, though. And Taylor said, I don't want to hurt people I care about. I don't want to hurt people I don't care about. And on top of all of that, I'm afraid of the gentle part of myself because I'm afraid that aspect of me is so vulnerable that I don't know if I would be a functioning human being. So I try to bury that side of me, but I reserve it for people who deserve it. She said, I reserve it, that part of me, for people I feel are the most deserving of the most gentle side of me. Like, I don't try to hurt people, but I also try to protect myself. And Moni said, that doesn't surprise me. So what does he do when he can't break her completely? He doubles down. He brings up Daniel and Paloma and says none of what they did was justified, but when people may have said that you rubbed them the wrong way, I think it came down to this cold sort of person you were showing. And Taylor said, so how was Amira and Nicole able to act the way that they did? And he cuts her off. And he says, we're not talking about them. We're not talking about them. But I can see how they felt the way that they felt. I swear I was ready to punch throat my freaking computer. You know what Daniel and Paloma did to her. So you're going to throw it in her face that they had a right to feel the way they were felt because she had that cold bitch persona? Bullshit. I had to quit watching the last of their conversation because seeing her in that tub, cowered down, with tears running down her face, and him knowing that he has done this to her, continues on and on and on. You made your damn point an hour ago. Now you're just being pure freaking hateful. Oh, I did. I quit watching the rest of it. I don't know when he left. I don't know what happened after that. I don't get it. I understand her point of view that she has to stay calm and not burn any bridges because she is in the final three. He is in the final three. However, for her not to stand up for herself, it shows me that this is not the first time that she's dealt with a man being this way towards her. Like she has to be submissive. Like she has to change. She has to fix this. She has to do that. The man has to do nothing. And that's bullshit. In my opinion. Take it or leave it, because I don't really give a damn. I have seen so many tweets and different people talking on Twitter, and I've listened to some MySpaces, and they all say the same thing. This behavior should be unacceptable. This is not game. This is beyond the game. So Brittany goes to pitch to Monty this morning. I didn't write down word for word what was said. It was the same old stuff that she's been saying. trying to convince him to keep her. It doesn't matter what she says. He's made up his mind. He made up his mind before he ever won the veto what he was going to do. So I fully expect that we'll be seeing her go home on Thursday. I don't quite know what he said to her. I think he came right out and told her that he felt better with Turner than he did her. So she's in the bubble room. She's feeling defeated. Taylor was downstairs and he didn't speak to her in the morning. She ended up going and getting back in her bed. So she's laying in her bed upset. Brittany's in the bubble room upset. And Monty and Turner are in the backyard. And Monty says, oh, well, I'll come over here and I'll give you the news. And Turner said, oh, what's up, brother? He said, oh, I got a couple of news stories to tell you. He said, first of all, Brittany tries to pitch to him this morning. And he's like, let's just get it over with and move on. And goes on a diatribe about how Taylor caused the house to treat her the way that they were treating her. Basically said a lot of the same shit he said to Taylor this morning. And then a little while later, Monty and Taylor are in the kitchen. And Monty says, are you all right? And she said, yeah, I just got a lot to think about. And he said, oh yeah, how much? And she said, I guess I just didn't really consider Turner's game as being taking directions from other people. It seems more like he sits back, and then ultimately does what he wants to do. And Monty said, do you think it was his idea to put up you and Brittany? And she said, yeah, ultimately to backdoor Michael or you. And Monty said, before that time, has he ever showed any evidence of doing stuff without being aligned with someone to do it? And Taylor said, well, I obviously didn't notice at the time, but I thought the Ameriflip was a big surprise to me because I thought he was aligned with Nicole and Daniel. And Monty said, so essentially, no, right? And Taylor said, I'm just nervous, Monty. And he says, about what? And she said, there's just a lot for us to get to the final two. I feel like we have more power on our side against Brittany. She said, there's a lot of things I've thought about this week that I have fears and concerns about. I just want the easiest path to get us there. And then then they go outside. Brittany's out there. And Brittany tells Taylor that Monty had his mind made up and that she's probably going to be going home. She says that Taylor needs to be careful that if she pushes Monty too hard, he may take Turner out of spite. She says, I don't want you to wreck your game. I want you to still think about your game. Even if I go home, you're still here. Just be careful. And Taylor said, it just sucks because if you're not there, and Brittany said, then you won't win either. And Brittany says, they are locked in, and they have been locked in. And if Michael had listened to me, we wouldn't be here. And she's right. She is very right. And Taylor said, I didn't come here to play the stupid girl. And Brittany says, well, we both ended up here. Or we both ended up that way. And Taylor said, what? And Brittany said, it just sucks. Taylor immediately got up and went over to Monty working out and asked him if he had time to chat. And he said, well, I'm working out. And she said, well, can I at least get a hug? And he said, well, I haven't showered yet. And So she said she was going up to her room to lay down. And he said, well, do you mind if I shower in your bathroom? And she said, no, that's fine. I just feel like Taylor has put her trust in the wrong people this season. There hasn't been a whole lot of real stand-up character people in the BB house this season. And I just feel like she's trusted the wrong ones. I hope that she knows she's being bullshitted. She normally has surprised me every time because I think, oh, Taylor's falling for this. And then it's like, no, she's not really falling for it. She knows what's going on. She just has a way of handling it so that she doesn't burn her bridges. Very classy. I don't think I could do that. I don't think I would have told Monty that he could come take a shower or do anything else in my room. I'd have told him, hell no, there's a shower downstairs, use it. But that's just me. Taylor handles the situations a hell of a lot more classy. I can't wait until she gets out of the house and that she sees how loved that she is once she gets out of that house by the Big Brother Nation. Because I think a lot of people are watching for the first time this year that have never watched before and have just such empathy and caring for Taylor and her story and the way that she's been treated all year. So I think she's going to have a lot. She's going to be overwhelmed with the love and the support that she has when she gets out of that house. So he goes up, he takes a shower, gets out of the shower, lays in the bed with her. And he just can't help himself. He starts talking about it again. And he doubles down saying that she was proud of her zing that she got. Like, you were proud to be called a cold-hearted bitch, whatever. And she's like, Monty, it was a joke. It was like, haha, I'm so far from that was the joke. Oh, no, you sounded like you were proud of it. And she's like, no, it's because it was totally opposite of what I actually am. It was like, haha, you know. And he just... He's telling her that she takes pride in being cold and icy, and if she could be this Taylor all the time, she'd be fine. I really so hope that she is playing his ass, and that she's saying what she needs to say to get herself further. Because if not, worst case scenario, she really does trust him, she really does care about him, and she's going to be hurt all over again. Like she hasn't endured enough hurt in the 3 months she's been in this house. And then he says to her, you started off being the person bound to be voted out of the house week 1, but had the opportunity to stay because of how poised and unbothered in those situations, and then forming the right relationships with people. Then winning the HOHs that you need to win at the times that you needed to win them. And I think there's a lot that you may not be taking credit for or thinking that the jury would value. And Taylor said, I just want to get to the end and have a fair fight. That's why I'm doing everything possible to make sure that the two of us are sitting in those 2 seats. That's why I've been so afraid of Turner going forward. And then Monty tells her that he will take her, that he will choose her over Turner in the final 2. And even Pinky swore and sealed it with a kiss. I'll believe it when I see it. I think he's going to turn on her again. I have no doubt he's going to take Turner. And I may not even come to that. Turner may win it and Turner takes him. But I think if it came down to it and Monty had to choose, he's going to choose Turner. Because now he started talking about Turner not having a game. And Turner just doing what other people told him to do, never really playing the game for himself, that he had to be directed in where to go and what to do. So he's already getting that argument ready. Turner's sitting outside. He said that he doesn't like the fact that Monty's locked away in the HOH room and he's left to deal with Brittany. He's about to lose his mind. He said he wished that they could change Taylor for Pooch and Brittany for Alyssa, and that the last week would be great. After 3.5 hours of Monty laying up talking to Taylor in the HOH room, he finally comes down. And I almost got excited for a minute because I misheard what Taylor actually said. He finally heads downstairs, and she gets up out of bed, rolls her eyes, and says, "Another day alive. Gross." I thought she said another day of lies, but I was pointed out by Hamster Watch when I said something about it, and so I went back and listened to it a couple of times, and he was right. She did say another day alive. Ooh, gross. That makes me sad. That if she thinks another day of her being alive is gross, he's really gotten to her head. I can't wait for all of this to be over for her. For her to get out and for her to see that she's truly loved on the outside. I think she's going to have so many more opportunities than she could have ever gotten with the $750,000 that she could win. Because I think in this scenario, unless she just pulls out a miracle and beats them both for the final HOH and gets to choose her own fate, I think she's going to take third place. And that sucks. But I almost have no doubt that she will get America's Favorite Player. I don't know how much that is now. I think it was $25,000. But like I said, I think she'll have a lot more opportunities outside the house. So that's all I have for you guys tonight. I'm going to go back and watch some more feeds for tomorrow and get this edited. You guys have a great day. And as always, much love.